Hello and welcome to the Daily Royal. My name is Shelby and I have been a royal watcher for the past 10 years. In this podcast, I talk about the daily events of 7 of the European monarchies. So I talk about Belgium, the UK, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, and Sweden. I upload Monday through Friday with occasional bonus episodes here and there. Today we will be talking about all of the events from Monday, April 26th of 2021. So, in an amazing twist of events, today was a light day, which is good because I have a feeling this week is going to be a little more intense in terms of events, plus also just personally adapting to a new schedule and all of that good stuff that is coming down the pike. So we really don't have a lot to talk about today, which is a-okay since we had a 40-minute episode yesterday. If this episode runs really short on time, like 20 minutes or less, I may go ahead and cover the 2 remaining royal families that we have left to talk about, that I don't typically talk about on this podcast. Because I've been trying to finish that since early this month, and it just, between COVID vaccines and Prince Philip's death, it just hasn't happened, which is just super a lot. So, let's go ahead and we are going to jump in. I'm trying to decide. Here's the thing. We're going to go ahead and just move to the Danish royal family. There was one event in Belgium, and so King Philippe today held his weekly audience with the Prime Minister. This happens literally every Monday. I talk about it every Monday, and then I say nothing else because there's nothing else to say. And then in the UK, there was nothing public-facing in the court circular. The 5 royals that I talk about didn't have any events today either. So we are going to jump to the Danish royal family. In Denmark, there was one event, and this is going to cover 2 royal families and half of a third, because there were some other events with another set of royals. But today, all of the Scandinavian heirs to the throne, so Crown Prince Frederik, Crown Prince Haakon, and Crown Princess Victoria, and their spouses all hopped on a video call and just really had a catch-up session where they were talking about their work, their families, and just generally having a good time. I found this to be super exciting. So this has happened where I think early on in the pandemic, there was supposed to be a visit between Norway and Sweden that obviously got canceled. And so Crown Prince Haakon, Crown Princess Mette, Crown Princess Victoria, and Prince Daniel all got on a Skype, Zoom, etc. call. And then with, I think it was the World handball tournament, Crown Princess Victoria and Crown Prince Frederik had a phone call because they were playing each other, and the Danes and the Swedes were playing each other in the finals. But this is the first time it's been all 3 of them, other than, I guess Frederik wasn't on that one, but all the royals got together for Queen Margrethe's 80th birthday video. So I don't know, it was just fun, and an interaction that we don't typically see. This does, for me, and this is speculation, confirm that they won't be able to attend Prince Christian's confirmation in a couple of weeks because they had their catch up over video call today, so I don't think they'll be able to be there because Victoria and maybe Akun and Metamarid are all godparents to Prince Christian, so in a normal non-COVID world they would have been there, but because we're in the middle of a pandemic, that is not the case. I don't know, it's just really fun. So I guess, like, to me, I'm taking that as a pretty obvious clue that there won't be any foreign royal attendance for Christian's confirmation, which is fine. I didn't really expect there to be. I thought there was potential, but I didn't expect there to be. But yeah, just like the whole family coming together, the whole group of the Scandinavian royals coming together, and they are, of course, like, proximity-wise very physically close to each other, and I think that leads to really good family relationship between all of them, and, like, everybody is everybody's godmother, godfather, like, it's just awesome. So that was really fun, but that was it for Denmark, and that also covers Norway, which is, I'm telling you guys, today was a really light day, which is fine. Days like that happen. And I just know that there's so much stuff happening in the next couple of days that, like, this is fine. So it was just adorable. The photos are great. It was just fun. But with that, we are going to go ahead and move on to the Netherlands, and talk about the events going on there. I completely expected today in the Netherlands to be absolutely silent. I did not expect any events because King's Day is tomorrow, and that is going to be an all-day, a good portion of the night kind of event, which is cool. And so I was kind of preparing for that to be the case. However, there were a couple of different things, and then, of course, most of their social media today was focused on preparation for King's Day tomorrow. Again, we'll do the whole, like, we'll talk about it all tomorrow. I haven't done a whole ton of research yet. It's still pretty early where I'm at, in terms of it's 7:30 at night, so I still have plenty of time before I go to sleep, to figure out what time things start, but I do plan on watching everything live. Hopefully I can find something with English caption. I probably won't be able to, but I'm gonna try, so I can have a good idea of what's going on. But even if I can't, like, throughout the day there will be enough information. So we'll go through, like, a whole thing tomorrow about King's Day and the event itself and all of that. But for today, we'll just cover the events that, like, actually happened today. So that includes Queen Maxima was giving a speech to the kickoff meeting for the financial literacy project of the European Commission and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, all about financial literacy and development in Europe, to create a more equal opportunity Europe in terms of access and education on financial matters. This was more private event, like private public part combination type of thing, in terms of, like, I don't think you can find it to watch. I didn't look all that hard, but I think I mentioned this recently. I found the UN Secretary General Special Advocate's, like, YouTube channel that focuses on all of Queen Maxima's specific financial literacy work or financial inclusion work. with the UN. And so because that was part of this role, I assumed it would be in there, and it was not. So I would assume it's just more of a private, like, discussion, which is totally cool. And yeah, and then, like I said, a ton of pre-information being shared about the King's Day concert, all of that good stuff that is happening tomorrow. But we'll talk about all of that then, because I need some prep time, and I also want to watch it and be as prepared as possible to have a good, productive conversation, because this is a pretty big event in the Netherlands, like arguably one of the biggest things. And because there wasn't one last year, there was, but it was all done from their palace, and it was all super virtual, and was in April, and I had only been doing this podcast for like 2 months, and hadn't learned enough yet. Whereas now I feel more in a rhythm, and like I definitely want to spend some time talking about that. So we will definitely do that tomorrow. But now we are skipping to Spain, because the only thing that happened in Norway we already covered, because it was the adorable catch-up between the heirs to the throne. So let's go ahead now and move on to Spain. In Spain, there was one event or 6, depending on how you look at it. I tend to think of this as one event, where King Felipe is receiving credentials from new ambassadors. So he received the new ambassadors to Spain from Hungary, Colombia, Thailand, Bolivia, Bangladesh, and Bulgaria. And I knew that this ceremony was pretty regal, and like, I think Spain, like I've mentioned before, is kind of the only royal family doing things in a semi-normal capacity at the moment. And so theirs has stayed fairly, like this credential ceremony has stayed fairly ceremonial and really focused on the pomp and circumstance. And this is the first time, though, that since I've been following the Spanish royal family, which is a bit longer than I have been doing the podcast in total, and this is the first time they shared a lot more like behind the scenes. So they arrive via like one of the state cars, and the Guardia Real, which is the royal guard, escorts them through the royal palace. Like it's not really a courtyard, but kind of it has a name. It's the Plaza de something, and it's between the big cathedral and the palace. And they are then greeted at like the big grand staircase and escorted up by more royal guards to, it's not the throne room, but it's a very intense room where King Felipe is waiting. And then they present their credentials with the invited guests that they have brought. So this is the first time they really showed more like behind the scenes of them arriving and on the grand staircase than they ever have before. And maybe that was the first time like it had been completely pomp and circumstance-y again. I'm not sure. Just because most of the time I've been following them has been through a pandemic. So that was the event today in Spain. And this got me thinking, if you remember back in like November, December time when we were talking about ambassadors, I said, expect from me when the U.S. ambassadors present their credentials, that I'll talk a little bit more because, I enjoy that, and I like the politics behind it, and I like knowing why ambassadors were chosen, sort of, because we all know I have a love affair with the ambassador event. However, I got into this a little bit yesterday. Apparently, the U.S. sees no reason to nominate ambassadors quickly. Our president has been in office for almost 100 days and has just now named a few ambassadors that have yet to even start their confirmation hearings. So by the time we're doing ambassadorships, from the US, it'll probably be like July of next year. At that point, I don't know if I'll be wanting to talk about them or not, because that's a very long time away. But we'll see. So because the ambassador event was happening, I wanted to talk about oh yeah, by the way, at some point, hopefully, these monarchs will receive new ambassadors from the states, but for now, we are unrepresented. No, we are not. There are wonderful foreign service officers who run the embassies when there's not an official ambassador, and honestly do most of the job anyway, especially for the political appointees who are not career diplomats. So it's fine. But it's funny. I just don't like that feeling. But anyway, that's okay. So with that, we are going to move on to the few events in Sweden that don't have to do with the adorable Heir to the Throne catch-up. So let's go now to Sweden. There were two events that technically happened today, or at least one was announced today from the Swedish royal family, and that is King Carl Gustaf took part in a podcast interview over last week to discuss some of the topics that he feels most passionate about ahead of his 75th birthday, which is on Friday. And so I guess his 70th birthday was a pretty big deal. I would have assumed his 75th would have been a big deal, but because, we live in a pandemic world, they didn't even plan a 75th birthday because we live in a pandemic. And so, of course, it's a super scaled down event, but there are still going to be special things that are happening kind of throughout the week, and especially on Friday, focused on King Carl Gustaf's birthday. So this week, for those who don't follow as intensely as obviously I do because of the podcast, but also just in general, this week is a lot of events that surround what will be birthdays and possibly an anniversary. So tomorrow is King Willem Alexander's birthday, and it's also King's Day. They celebrate on the same day, which is a huge event in the Netherlands. And then Thursday is the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's 10th wedding anniversary, and there could be something, but no one really knows what's going on there. So we'll see. And then Friday is King Carl Gustaf's 75th birthday. So again, events will be happening. Not all of them have been announced, but there is a small, from what I can tell, reception for government officials. I don't know who will be there. But it does seem like there will be some things going on in person, but also just known throughout. And so we'll talk about those as they come. But when I say oh, this week could be intense, and that's why I'm honestly okay having a really short episode today, is it's because like tomorrow is King's Day and I know that's going to go long. Will and Kate's anniversary is, even if they don't do anything special for me, is like a big deal because it's really my first introduction to all of the royals I now talk about every day. And then the events surrounding King Carl Gustaf's birthday will be pandemic spectacular, like pandemic grand scale. So hopefully we can keep up. Hopefully I don't get exhausted. I have planned my schedule that I have plenty of time to focus on all of this. That is part of why I have switched jobs around a little bit, is to give myself more time to make this better, to make this podcast and platform and all of it better. So yeah. So just, it's a big week. We are going to end this podcast here. I have lots of catching up to do on the website, thedailyroyal.com, The Daily Royal on Instagram. I have to catch up on all of that stuff today and at some point feed myself and all of the things. So I'm going to end here. Please have a wonderful Tuesday, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.